Part 9. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 81. Chapter 81. Do you want to get rid of the road? Wei Suo, a young man in the hillside outside the Heaven Grade residence area, knows that the status of the Golden Jade Pavilion is lower than that of shopkeeper Tian and the surname of Lu, but it seems to be a good one. The small leader can make some of the rest of the Golden Jade Pavilion disciple responsible for reception. Senior Wei, far from seeing Wei Suo, the Chinese costume boy greeted Wei Suo with a surging sound, and his eyes flashed a shocked look. This Heaven Grade residence need how many spiritual stones? The golden jade of the Chinese youth is very clear, and he himself is Pavilion C Divine Realm Cultivation Base. He also clearly remembers, Wei Suo the first time to Golden Jade Pavilion, cultivation base then a bit lower, and although he did not cultivation the gas tactic shapeshifty great art, now also feel Wei Suo body's breath seems to be stronger than their own great treasure a lot, that is, in a short period of time, Wei Suo has been promoted to rank 3 base of cultivation. The speed of this cultivation base can also be described as amazing. Is he a kind of talented god naked body, absorbing refining spiritual chi especially fast genius cultivator? Sorry, I forgot to inform you when I changed my place. How did you find my new home? Just in the heart of this Chinese youth, Wei Suo, who came forward, couldn't help but ask. Is such that the Chinese teenager explained immediately, the thousands of silver and 100 green beetles that you want yesterday are ready. But to you below the house to go to you but not, today happened to meet in the Nangong looking, asked her, just know you may change the Heaven Grade residence, then I went to the temple to ask, fortunately predecessors you to the 2 Heaven S sect disciples impression is very deep, they think about what kind of dwelling you rented. Really, it seems too low-key is not good Wei Suo knows that the 2 snobbish Heaven's first sect disciple must have been dressed like a poor ghost, but they ended up with a great treasure and high-level spiritual stones, so they were very impressed. After swearing in the sentence, the Chinese costume teenager went on to say, Senior Wei brought treasure receiving pocket out. You want 1,000 silver smelting some great treasure. Oh, with you Wei Suo nodded, and now he has 2 treasure receiving pockets on his body, and almost everything is on his body. Seeing that Wei Suo nodded, the Lin surnamed Huafu teenager also took out a black treasure receiving pocket and took out the 1,000 smelting silver that Wei Suo had said. This piece of smelting silver, which is specially designed to test the power of the shapeshift great art, has a square foot and a thickness of more than 2 feet. In the appearance of the material and the ordinary silver is not great treasure, but the texture looks more delicate and shiny. After Wei Suo took the square of the 500 pieces of the spiritual stones, the Huafu boy took out a great treasure silk bag from the treasure receiving pocket, which contained a great treasure heap of cyan beetles monster core. Wei Suo almost didn't have any points, just put the pile of cyan beetles monster core into the treasure receiving pocket, and then paid a total of 9,000 spiritual stones. After clearing the spiritual stones paid by Wei Suo, the Chinese costume teenager of the Golden Jade Pavilion said to Wei Suo, Senior Wei, you asked us for the spiritual consciousness of the Golden Jade Pavilion, and the shapeshift great art of the beast has also found the seller. What? Some of them were secretly calculating that they only had more than 2,900 pieces of Wei Suo from the spiritual stones. When they heard the words of the Chinese teenager, they were overjoyed by great treasure. How many of the other products are going to be spiritual stones? Huafu Juvenile said, the other party does not want to sell directly. It is to entrust us to auction at the auction. Now the reserve price is 1,500 pieces of spiritual stones. The date of the auction was 10 days later, and the great treasure cost something. After the first 2 days, I will come over and tell the seniors. 1,500 down spiral stones, Wei Suo slightly indulged. Generally speaking, the price of intercourse was at least doubled, and for him, the price of 3,000 or 5,000 spiritual stones was within his acceptable range. After a slight indulgence, Wei Suo shook his head and said, there will be this auction in the auction anyway, and there are some of my things to auction. I definitely want to participate, so you don't have to run anymore. I will be there when I go. There will be something in the future auction, and you will be able to tell Shapeshift Great Art to let me know. The next day, as long as green-robed old man has raised the origin chi-chi to get the ghost-raising jar, Wei Suo must be desperately trying to refine the heaven-mending pellet. He doesn't want his concocting pills to be in a pinch, that is the golden shapeshift great art bell screamed again, and it didn't matter if he ran out again. In case of a bad one, it was also Equito directly burned 55 pieces of spiritual stones. Okay, if that's the case, then don't bother the seniors to clean up after. The Chinese teenager took a nod. He was very professional and didn't talk nonsense. He and Wei Suo left. The brother of the Golden Jade Pavilion, but he just walked down less than 100 steps, and Wei Suo's figure just disappeared in the Heaven Grade residence area. The Heaven's first sect disciple wearing the blue shapeshift great art that he had previously introduced to him was suddenly coming out from the side. He shouted at him with a smile. What is this brother's station? Huafu teenager did not dare to neglect, stopped to ask. In the next, Wang Jinzong, Heaven's first sect disciple wearing a blue shapeshift great art dress, said with a smile, I just want to hear from you. In the forest wind, the Chinese costume teenager looked at him with some strange looks. Wang Jinzong, who seemed to have a good look, what do you want to ask for? Wang Jinzong, whose face is a little thin, said, it's not a great treasure. I just want to inquire about the cultivator that you met with. Are you a guest of your Golden Jade Pavilion? And your intercourse is easy. How much spiritual stones can he earn from his great treasure? The wind shook his head. Our Golden Jade Pavilion is not able to tell the news of the guests. It is really embarrassing. It's okay, Wang Jinzong's smile does not change. I just want to know if he is the guest of your Golden Jade Pavilion. It's a bit simpler, just like a chat. Do you think there are not many spiritual stones on his body? Is this always possible? This is no problem, Lin Fengdao. I think the spiritual stones on his body should be at least not less than tens of thousands of spiritual stones. As for the rest, I really can't tell. Haha, thank you, Lin brother. Wang Jinzong arched his hand and said, after the forest brothers come back to find someone, it is on me. You're welcome. After Lin Feng's glance at Wang Jinzong's eyes, he did not say much, and he left. After Wang Jinzong's eyes turned, he swept up to the area of Heaven Grade residence. He quickly arrived at Wei Suo's residence, and then a true Yuan hit the gold wire. Is someone looking for me? After a while, Wei Suo, who had just returned to the quiet room and heard the golden bell surging sound, came out of the blue light curtain with a look of suspicion. Senior Wei, I am sorry, this time it is not someone looking for you, but I have something to look for. As soon as he saw Wei Suo, Wang Jinzong's face suddenly filled with a smile. Do you have something to look for? Wei Suo suddenly became even more strange. What are you looking for? Wang Jinzong looked around. God's secret place light surging sound said, I don't know if Senior Wei is interested in getting involved. Get the road. What do you mean? Wei Suo. Ah, it seems that Senior Wei hasn't enjoyed it yet. Wang Jinzong smiled and gestured with a finger to make a dazed and sensual gesture. Getting the road is the words in our circle, that is, intercourse, like dual cultivation. It's a cloud. If Senior Wei is interested in this matter, I can arrange it for my predecessors. Upon seeing Wang Jinzong's gesture and hearing him, Wei Suo suddenly reacted. You mean, Lu Xiaolane? Nature can't be that grade. Wang Jinzong suddenly shook his head. How could such a grade get into the eyes of the senior shapeshift great art? I arranged it on my behalf. Naturally it was the female cultivator that reached the Divine Sea Realm cultivation base. Female cultivator, Wei Suo's eyes great treasure. Of course, those ordinary mortal rouge women, even if they look good, how can they compare with the beauty and kung fu of the female cultivator? Wang Jinzong smiled with a small eye. Which mortal women? How can there be a female cultivator delicate and smooth skin? How can there be water lotus rewinding, koi water absorption, over the sea, water, tianing, lightning poison dragon and so on? No way suo sir surging sounds swallowed, what? There are any secret places that the predecessors have, even though they are clear. Wang Jinzong he smiled. After Wei Suo swallowed his mouth again, the little surging sound asked, what is the water lotus rewinding? What is koi water absorption? What is the overwhelming sea? It seems that the predecessors really did not make a way. Wang Jinzong lightly surging sound, no problem, I will explain to the seniors the so-called water lotus rewind, that is, she vacated and flew on you, and then set the younger brother of your predecessor, flying above you. The so-called koi water absorption, that is, she is carrying the water attribute shapeshift great art at the same time, swallowing. Lightning poison dragon, using thunder attribute shapeshift great art, these shapeshift great art are mastered very well, and will only let the seniors burning with the genius burning with the desire, never hurt the predecessors. Of course, if the predecessors have unique tastes, they can also wear special clothes, for example, dressed up like Ice White Butt Beauty Jiyat. No, can it still be like this? Wei Suo heard his eyes straight and the saliva flowed down. How is this arranged? Like the predecessors, they are not daring to arrange. Wang Jinzong said, arrange the Spirit Peak City for the predecessors. It is definitely a one-of-a-kind female cultivator, 700 pieces of spiritual stones. If the predecessor wants to, 1,200 pieces of spiritual stones will be fine. 700 off-the-shelf spiritual stones. This price makes Wei Suo's eyes white. He has long heard that some female cultivators will sell out the hue because of the lack of cultural spiritual stones, because except for a few exercises, shapeshift great art has the limitations of children's body. Shapeshift great art is unlimited. However, I did not expect that there are people here specifically. Wei Suo knows that this match line Wang Jinzong must also charge a certain amount of spiritual stones back. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 82. Chapter 82. Do you also do this? Water lotus point koi water absorption falling the ocean lightning poison dragon. Wei Suo was so excited in his heaven-grade residence that he couldn't stand the thought of Wang Jinzong's names. In fact, Wei Suo felt that Huang Yi was a bit too shameful, but to tell the truth, Huang Yi's body and face are still very good. It's no wonder that Lu Antiying's divine soul was reversed by her, and her brain was following the water. Now Wei Suo occasionally remembered that Huang Yi had stripped his clothes and squatted on the stone, and he still couldn't stand it. But is it a bit of a slap in the face? Normal men, don't solve it, don't become heart demon. Besides, if people have enough spiritual stones cultivation, they don't come out to do this. They should do something good. Wei Suo immediately found an excuse for himself. Ting. 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 When Wei Suo waited a little nervously, suddenly the golden shapeshift great art bell rang. So fast. Estimated that Wang Jinzong was less than a stick of incense from the time of his departure. Do the female cultivators live in this part of the city? If so, it would be too convenient. After Wei Suo pulled the clothes, he sweated his heart and made his own heaven-grade residence. From the blue light curtain, Wei Suo was a bit dumbfounded when he saw the person standing in front of him. Standing outside his residence, it was the silver-haired girl who was extremely charming. Of course it is me, or do you think that Nangong Yuking is coming to you for a hot spring? Han Wei stunned and licked his mouth. Wei Suo was completely shocked. Are you not a rare treasure pavilion great treasure? Do you actually do this? Do you still know my identity? Han Wei took a surging sound. Why, the great treasure of rare treasure pavilion can't be the same as other female cultivators. You will also reclaim the water lotus? Koi water absorption? Wei Suo asked incredulously. What water lotus, what is water? I will only be ice and fire. Han Weiwei sneered, now I want to find out what I have done with shapeshift great art, but telling you is no problem. Ice fire, Wei Suo had a full association in his mind as soon as he heard it, and he couldn't stand it anymore. MS Great Treasure of Rare Treasure Pavilion, this grade is too high, and this silver shirt beauty has made her head a great treasure before, but she is really charming and wants to die, just look at the face and not look good. The ass can't stand it? Let's go in. Wei Suo, who was glaring, took 2 steps forward and wanted to take Han Weiwei's hand to his heaven grade residence. Wei Suo also asked, spiritual stones is a direct intercourse to you or is it intercourse to Wang Jinzong? What do you want to do? Looking at Wei Suo, who was fascinated by his face, Han Weiwei was shocked and went back 2 steps and shouted. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei inexplicably. You are not that 700 spiritual stones. Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo a little bit, 700 spiritual stones? What 700 spiritual stones, what the hell are you talking about? Senior Wei. When Wei Suo felt a little wrong, he suddenly heard someone shouting at himself, and Wei Suo suddenly turned a blind eye. He saw that he was calling Wang Jinzong of Heaven's first sect, and Wang Jinzong was followed by a very beautiful female cultivator. This female cultivator skin white snow white but white, I don't know what it is to do. Shapeshift great art is still easy to read. It looks really similar to Shui Ling and it is still wearing a pair of Wei Suo's Shui Ling portrait is identical to the shapeshift great art, but the material is obviously not the high-level shapeshift great art, just imitation. This shapeshift great art has a very low chest and a pair of towering jade rabbits that are looming and stunned. This is what you brought. Wei Suo stayed for a while before he came back and asked Wang Jinzong, who was looking for a good look. This, Wang Jinzong looked at Han Weiwei in front of Wei Suo and was a bit dumbfounded. You guys. This time Han Weiwei finally understood a bit, incredulously pointed to Wei Suo and the very fascinating female cultivator. She had already inquired about Wei Suo's residence, and then deliberately set the heaven-level residence, trying to force Wei Suo to play with herself, but he actually regarded himself as. Han Weiwei was so angry that Wei Suo and the female cultivator's hand were a little trembling. However, at this time, the gorgeous female cultivator looked at Han Weiwei's chest with some contempt and said, why, just come out and do this, look at your own prototype, the technology has not been refining, and dare to come out and grab business with me? People like intercourse is my size, I can wave the top, wave pushes you, depending on your conditions, you can't do it? You, Han Weiwei violently gasped for a great treasure. After a while, I looked at the female cultivator with baleful aura. Do you know that I am who? Who? The gorgeous female cultivator flattened its mouth. Can it still be Jia of the Rare Treasure Pavilion? The size of Jia is no smaller than mine, and some people will make me look like her. If you dare to talk again, I will make you regret it. Han Weiwei almost fainted. I am not Jia, but she is my senior sister. Are you Han? This time, the eyes flowed, and the face of Wei Suo's gorgeous female cultivator and Wang Jinzong suddenly disappeared. They certainly know that the Rare Treasure Pavilion has almost monopolized what kind of power the Spirit Peak City medicine pill supplies in Spirit Peak City. The strength of the market like Rare Treasure Pavilion and Golden Jade Pavilion is even on the edge of many sections. Even Heaven's First Sect, which is in charge of Spirit Peak City, has to sell the face of such a great treasure. Otherwise, if the market moves directly to another city, it may bring unimaginable to the entire Spirit Peak City. As a result of, the little girl doesn't know that he has something to do with you. If you know it, even if you give me 2 courage, I dare not come over and fight for him. Also please Miss Han, great treasure people, great treasure amount. After the reaction, the gorgeous female cultivator turned white and said something like this, and immediately turned around and flew away. Don't bother Senior Wei and Miss Han. Wang Jinzong also said that after a whitish look, He immediately circled 2 bends and disappeared without a trace. Don't go ah! Wei Suo is burning with the tears, and the female cultivator is really good. It is very hot and much stronger than Huang Yi. Wei Suo just thought it would be a bit unbearable, but now the beauty actually ran away. What is this called ah? I have a relationship with him, and when he heard the words of the gorgeous female cultivator, Han Weiwei was even more angry and shivering. I would rather fix the kind of shape-shift great art that must be banned from burning with the desire. It can't be related to men for a lifetime, and it will never be related to this man. Shameless. Old rogue. Especially when I thought about what this guy was going to do, Han Weiwei couldn't help but scream at Wei Suo. Wei Suo is also really depressed. How can there be such a woman that Yin Sol is not stalking, and a good thing of her own is ruined? So he couldn't help but grimacing and said, "You have a problem. I haven't really taken off my pants, and what you do, you are pestering me all the time to do what? Rare treasure pavilion, great treasure, Mrs. Great, Miss Rare treasure pavilion, great treasure, even what do I have to do in my house? Go to death. If you are a man, you will have a hard time playing with me. Otherwise I won't let you off." "Oh, I am not a man who is not proof of this with you." Wei Suo watched Han Weiwei sneer at a surging sound. "Want to play with me, you will die this hard." After finishing this sentence, Wei Suo walked in and out of his residence without saying anything back. "I advise you not to harass me in the future. Just someone else has seen it, otherwise, I have to tell people that your skills are not good. If you are jealous of you, you will have to struggle to entangle me and seek to live." Han Weiwei was too angry to speak. Wei Suo has passed the blue light curtain and disappeared. There is something wrong. Wei Suo walked into his home with a slap in the face and saw his own garden and Ling Quan pool burning and with tears. Such a good condition. If you are in the bubble hot spring with the gorgeous female cultivator, then try all the tricks, this should be cool ah. But now there is nothing. The evil little witch. Wei Suo cursed Han Weiwei's long-faced chickenpox in his heart. When he didn't dare to go out, he didn't know that Han Weiwei was standing in front of Wang Jinzong. "Do you know who I am now?" Han Weiwei, whose face is still somewhat whitish, looked at Wang Jinzong, who stood in front of her and dared out of great grunge. Wang Jinzong cold sweat DC road, "Know it? I don't want to hear any rumors about me and him. If I hear it, I will be the first to ask you trouble." Han Weiwei said with baleful aura, "I don't think heaven's first sect will offend us for a normal disciple." Wang Jinzong's face suddenly turned white and nodded again and again. "I will never mention half a word to anyone. Give me a good look at him. Don't let him do this kind of thing today. Otherwise, I am only asking you." No, Wang Jinzong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He thought fortunately Han Weiwei did not know that this road was raised by him. Otherwise, Han Weiwei still can't cut him. When I think that he is more and more admired by Wei Suo, it can make the great treasure of Rare Treasure Pavilion die. It seems that this Wei surnamed cultivator is not an ordinary person. When he thought about it, he didn't know that Han Weiwei was thinking in his heart, "Old hooligans, I will see how you do this shameless thing in the future. I don't believe that I can't find your handle. You once." New Year, the Great Treasure family will also be hot. If you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel, wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven, author, Wu Zy. Chapter 83. Chapter 83, Purpose of Green Seeking Silver. What's going on? Wei Suo mourned in the quiet room of his heaven-grade residence. After being irritated by Han Weiwei, he still felt a little unwilling. He went out to find Wang Jinzong again, but when Wang Jinzong saw him, he looked at the great treasure and was dragged by him to ask if he had made away. Wang Jinzong was very gentleman. "Shake your head and say where there is something to do, then just turn around and leave. Where can I get involved? It is clear that you told me that I have gotten the way, but also brought a beautiful woman who is very angry, but now I actually say where to get involved. I want to get rid of a. Wei Suo called a surging sound again. What is the way? A surging sound suddenly rang. Old man, can you finally get ghost raising jar? Wei Suo suddenly turned around and saw green-robed old man lying on top of the ghost raising jar on the agar wood table, looking at himself with some doubts. If there is no fire and blood to supplement origin chi, it is nourished by the origin chi of ghost raising jar itself. I don't want to come out of this ghost raising jar anymore. Green-robed old man looked at Wei Suo and said, when you go out to buy something next time, remember to buy some of the blood of the fire earth dragon that nourishes better, or my life essence must be reduced a lot. Yes, what you have to do. No, you got it wrong. I said that I want to make a stove, that is, to clean heaven mending pellet. Wei Suo's old face was slightly red, saying, I have already received 100 cyan beetles monster core, just waiting for you to come out and help me with concocting pills. How is the recovery of origin chi now, or do we go to concocting pills? What anxious, green-robed old man looked at Wei Suo. The head of mind-devouring bug, you have no secret place, shouldn't you be sold? Wei Suo shook his head immediately. Of course not. The other two mind-devouring bugs were sent to the Golden Jade Pavilion for the auction. The mind-devouring bug is still well kept. That is to throw the head of this mind-devouring bug first. Green-robed old man said something, it hurts me to lose so many origin chi, first dissect it, anyway, there is probably something good in the advanced monster beast naked body like it. Is this a good thing, or a secret place? Let's talk about this mind-devouring bug. Elders out. Wei Suo, the childish temper of green-robed old man, has long been seen, so after shook his head helplessly, he directly lost the body of the mind-devouring bug from the treasure-receiving pocket. After mind-devouring bug died, it seems that there is no support from True Yuan, but it is not invisible. Now the mind-devouring bug elder's naked body is like a great treasure wrinkled in the water for a long time. Where to start? After some disgusting glance at the naked body of the mind-devouring bug elder, Wei Suo took Lu Sanbao's great treasure knife out. After spending 900 pieces of spiritual stones and buying 1,000 smelting silver, Wei Suo has tried it. The pair of red bracelets in Wendeaj really have the power to approach spiritual artifact, but the distance is limited. Lu Sanbao's great treasure knife also has the same attack power as the shapeshift great art of the other half of the spirit rank. And Wei Suo sees that this great treasure knife is mainly a material itself, like this ordinary cutting, it is very sharp. What made Wei Suo feel a little bit sad was the fragment of his yin demon blade. After the last break with the Wendeaj, the power of the yin demon blade was not only slightly weakened, but the true yuan consumed was much more. Oh! Did you still come back with this great treasure knife? As soon as Wei Suo took out Lu Sanbao's great treasure knife, green-robed old man was somehow surprised. This great treasure knife should be filled with a lot of essence metal. Even if the great treasure knife is damaged in the future, it can be used to refine other shapeshift great art great treasures, and then merge one or two essence metals into it, but it can also be refined into a flying sword. Can you use it to refine the flying sword? Wei Suo suddenly let his eyes shine. It seems that I do have a vision. I think this great treasure knife is very fierce. Get it, just rely on your cultivation base, refining the flying sword and being able to use the flying sword. At most, just use this great treasure knife as a spirit shift great art great treasure for spirit rank. Green-robed old man licked his mouth and clicked on the naked body of mind-devouring bug. Starting from the head, mind core of mind-devouring bug is there. It is best to follow the wounds of your own, the incisions are smaller, and the skin of the mind-devouring bug elders can refine something. Wei Suo nodded and slammed everything along his own wound. A surging sound, without the support of True Yuan, the skin of mind-devouring bug's skin is not without the kind of abnormal defense. The great treasure knife in his hand is cut into it with little effort. Hey, what is this? From the cut hole, Wei Suo soon saw a small black monster core with a giant egg, but under the yellow monster core, there is still a piece of more great treasure than monster core. Yellow crystal bead. After taking all these two things out, Wei Suo saw that the black monster core was heavy, and the other monster beast's monster core was nothing but great treasure except for the color, but the yellow crystal bead was very strange, and when it swayed, Xuanhuan flashed, as if it were all water. Shapeshift great art beads. The head of the mind-devouring bug's naked body has already formed shapeshift great art beads. Green-robed old man saw the beads, but he was a surging sound. Wei Suo couldn't help but ask, what is shapeshift great art? Shapeshift great art beads are unique to the manifestation in some advanced monster beast naked bodies. Green-robed old man explains, like the most advanced snapdragon naked body, in addition to monster core, there are often, is this shapeshift great art bead, is the monster beast storage talent shapeshift great arts beads. After some ordinary snapdragons evolved into a green scorpion, a wind attribute bead and a water attribute bead were generated in the naked body, which stored the great attribute wind attribute and the water attribute shapeshift great art force respectively. For example, embedded in the green seeking silver refining shapeshift great art, you can directly stimulate the shapeshift great art to match the enemy. Green seeking silver? How do I sound so familiar? Is this the thing that was obtained from the horseface cultivator? At that time, you said to tell me later about secret place. Wei Suo took a look at the treasure receiving pocket and took out the fist of the great silver essence metal. Green-robed old man looked at Wei Suo. Yes, green seeking silver's most great treasure is designed to fit shapeshift great art beads and some crystal stones with unique powerful energy. It can be made into a mosaic shapeshift great art. The power of crystal stone to inspire shapeshift great art beads and these unique powerful energy. After the pause, green-robed old man followed with some smugness. I know the shapeshift great art array, which can be placed on top of a green seeking silver shapeshift great art with up to 5 different shapeshift great art beads. Equivalent to can stimulate the 5 kinds of shapeshift great art, and after the powerful energy in the shapeshift great art beads is exhausted, you can also replace the other shapeshift great art beads. So sharp, Wei Suo suddenly got excited. The advanced ability of this mind-devouring bug elder is similar to the rotten corpse water and yin phosphorus sand. It is the shapeshift great art that can destroy the opponent, if you use green seeking silver, and this shapeshift great art is made into a shapeshift great art great treasure. Isn't it the shapeshift great art great treasure that can be used to destroy the opponent? Green-robed old man took a surging sound. You don't be too happy too early. Green seeking silver, although not very melting, can also be smelted with earth fire furnace, but to build the shapeshift great art array on it, it is necessary to use the control of shapeshift great art to build on it. Even if your cultivation base is in the heavenly circuit realm 2/3 layer, you can barely use some of the control of the shapeshift great art. It is not so easy to find a sufficient control of the shapeshift great art. Really, the old man, show you something. Wei Suo haha smiled and took the scroll book that Lu Wu gave him from the treasure receiving pocket and placed it in front of green-robed old man. Samadhi divine flames, green-robed old man's eyes were incredibly great treasure. In the past, San Francisco was dedicated to the fire attribute of the artifact refinement, shapeshift great art. How did you get it? I sent Lu Wu a 1.5 spiritual artifact, and he was too embarrassed to send it. Wei Suo haha smiled. You will be more surprised to see something for you, said Wei Suo. Took out 5 mind-devouring bug eggs. Mind-devouring bug egg, sure enough, green-robed old man's eyes were incredibly great treasure. The old man, and the spiritual great art of the spiritual consciousness, has also been found and will be auctioned at the next great treasure auction. When you say that I bought the shapeshift great art, and with the slaves, I got a few mind-devouring bugs, what happens when I get there? Wei Suo said very proudly. Green-robed old man unconsciously trembled. With a monster beast like mind-devouring bug, he thought it was sinister, terrifying. There are a lot of good things at hand, but the key is that the cultivation base is too low. If you can have the cultivation base of Heavenly Circuit Realm second layer like the yellow shirt cultivator, it will be a bit emboldened. Divine Sea Realm 5th layer is still a little bit worse, and now 5 Divine Sea is not the same as Great Treasure. My purple mystic true technique is not even a mystic level mid-level. Wei Suo checked the elder's mind devouring bug again and found out that there was nothing more to say to green-robed old man. Golden Spirit Pellet is good. This time I decided to buy Golden Spirit Pellet cultivation after I went out. There is also the Heaven Mending Pellet. Okay, I understand, don't you just want me to help you with Heaven Mending Pellet? Green-robed old man gave us a look at Wei Suo. Now we can start to clean the Heaven Mending Pellet right away, but you have to promise me a condition. Wei Suo, what conditions? Green-robed old man smiled awkwardly. This time you must have picked up a lot of secret places and made a fortune after finishing this batch of Heaven Mending Pellet. You take me to visit again, how can I buy a fun? Wei Suo suddenly rolled one's eyes. But when he met a shopaholic old man who hadn't bought anything for 20,000 years, he didn't do shapeshift great art. After turning roll one's eyes, he could only nod helplessly. Haha, seeing that Wei Suo nodded, green-robed old man suddenly laughed. Go, clean the Heaven Mending Pellet. Great Treasure is so active in the road, hee, what to say today is more than 4. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 84. Chapter 84 Mystic Level High Level, 3rd. It's already 3rd, and there's an update at night, and the red ticket is getting started. Exhausted me. For 9 days, Wei Suo finally finished 100 Cyan Beetle's Monster Core the night before the Golden Jade Pavilion informed Wei Suo that there was a spiritual consciousness of the Spirit Shift Great Art. Now in Wei Suo's quiet Heaven Grade Residence quiet room, it is filled with the rich scent of Heaven Mending Pellet. At the moment, a total of 62 Heaven Mending Pellets flashing with seductive luster were placed in a silk sack in front of him. After so many days of continuous refining, the success rate of Wei Suo concocting pills was finally a little higher, and 100 Cyan Beetle's Monster Core refining 62 Heaven Mending Pellets. At the time of a refinement of the mind, there was no special feeling for refining one, but now that so many Heaven Mending Pellets are put together, Wei Suo's eyes are not cursive. With so many Heaven Mending Pellets, what is the evolution of your own purple mystic true technique? Just for a moment, Wei Suo finally couldn't help but took a crystal-like Heaven Mending Pellet and swallowed it and began to refining. The more the cultivation base is, the faster the refining medicine pill and the spiritual chi are absorbed. Less than half an hour later, Wei Suo opened his eyes, and some surprises were directed at green-robed old man, who looked at the jade slips that recorded heavenly profound continent. Green-robed old man didn't breathe a surging sound. Are you not nonsense? Hee, Wei Suo also ignored green-robed old man, and he felt a little bit more. The 5 divine seas in his naked body have grown, but the original 4 divine seas have grown less, and the latest ones have been developed. The divine sea has grown the most, so it seems that as long as there is more refining point Heaven Mending Pellet, the 5 divine sea will still become the same great treasure. Otherwise, the more great treasure of the great treasure, the small one can't catch up with the great treasure. The divine sea that he developed is always smaller than the front, and the divine sea great treasure in the naked body is small. It is really a bit funny. After he laughed at the surging sound, Wei Suo went one after another, refining the Heaven Mending Pellet. Every Heaven Mending Pellet goes down, Wei Suo's divine sea will have a slightly strong legacy treasure, and after divine sea's strong treasure, the speed of the refining Heaven Mending Pellet will be faster than the original. After 10 Heaven Mending Pellets, refining a Heaven Mending Pellet, almost as long as a stick of incense. After refining 10 Heaven Mending Pellets, the 5 divine seas great treasures are almost identical. After refining 32 Heaven Mending Pellets in a row, the 5 divine seas in the Wei Suo naked body are doubled compared to the previous great treasure, that is, Wei Suo's purple mystic true technique, now equivalent to mystic level high level of the shapeshift great art. This is similar to the 30 or so heaven-mending pellets that green-robed old man had previously expected to make Wei Suo's purple mystic true technique advance to the equivalent to mystic level high level shapeshift great art. The shapeshift Wei does not continue to stop Suo refining purple mystic true technique advance to mystic level power heaven great art ding pellet, but also successive refining 20, wait until the sky has been great treasure bright, time almost to rush to attend the auction, Wei Suo only after the remaining 10 heaven mending pellet, and then quickly in the outside of the hot spring bath clean a body of smelly sweat, Wei Suo toward the arraignment jade talisman inside absorbed into the true Yuan. And then to himself below the earth level residence driven past. Although the same is the divine sea realm 5th layer, now Wei Suo's purple mystic true technique has surpassed the mystic level high level shapeshift great art, which has more than doubled its strength from true Yuan. Even at elite disciple in heaven's first sect, at his age, culture mystic level high level shapeshift great art, most of the great treasure can only be repaired to divine sea realm 5th layer, up to heavenly circuit realm 1st layer. That is to say, Wei Suo, although the speed of the previous years was extremely slow, the speed of the culture in the recent period is very amazing. Invisibly, the gap with the disciples in these great sects has almost completely recovered. Wei Suo last time and Nangong Yuking mentioned the auction, he knows that Nangong Yuking saw the news on the Jade Talisman. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 85. Chapter 85 Controlling Spirits, 4th, Red Ticket. Senior Wei. Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking have already entered the arena when they walked to Ling Yunfang. When I went to this building in front of a similar building to Ling Wufang, Wei Suo remembered that shopkeeper Tian didn't give himself any admission to Jade Talisman. He was thinking about whether shopkeeper Tian was negligent. The boy named Lin Feng from the Golden Jade Pavilion has already come out of Ling Yunfang's door and walked towards him and Nangong Yuking. Originally known as the VIP of the Golden Jade Pavilion, Wei Suo was specially waiting for Lin Feng to bring him and Nangong Yuking into a VIP box on the 2nd floor. This VIP box is more great treasure than the one in Ling Fang Fang last time. And the difference is, the mouth is also equipped with a unique array of spirit light shapeshift great art, from which you can clearly see the outside and the great treasure scene, but from the outside you cannot see the inside of the VIP box. Senior Wei, this is a list of the great treasures of this auction. You can look at it and see if there is anything other than what you want. After joining Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking into the VIP box on the 2nd floor, Lin Feng did not leave immediately, but took out a stack of essays and handed it to Wei Suo with great courtesy. Oh! Wei Suo took the heart of the book and immediately took it with Nangong Yuking. Lin Feng is very professional and has withdrawn from this VIP box after a ceremony. United Void Pellet. Almost at first glance, Wei Suo saw this fascinating medicine pill, which allows the cultivator below Thought Division realm to directly promote the rank 1 cultivation base. The auction was co-organized by several great treasures such as the Golden Jade Pavilion and the Rare Treasure Pavilion. Among them, the United Void Pellet was refined by the Rare Treasure Pavilion. On this list, Wei Suo sees this medicine pill in the 5th place for sale. In fact, many of the cultivators that have already been present are also holding the Rare Treasure Pavilion to jointly organize this auction. Jia is likely to be present and want to see the legendary first beauty of Spirit Peak City. Face, specially came to participate in this auction. Because even if you go to the Rare Treasure Pavilion, it is impossible to see Jia, who is deeply impressed. Mind-devouring bug. Wei Suo immediately saw his 2 mind-devouring bugs, and shopkeeper Tian seemed to be deliberately separating the 2 mind-devouring bugs, one in the 9th and one in the 10th. Controlling. Next, Wei Suo immediately saw on the list the shapeshift great art that he wanted to control the monster beast. The bottom price was 1,500 pieces of spiritual stones, ranking 6th. Dragon Tiger's Iwei robe, black and white betta and greenwood fish, these 3 pieces of Wei Suo's are also in the 13th. 15th, and 16th positions respectively. The rest of the lot, Wei Suo swept over, and Wei Suo was a little shocked by a spicy herb called God Grass and a true UN shapeshift great art called Earth Level Low Grade. The reserve price is 3,000 pieces of spiritual stones and 7,000 pieces of spiritual stones. The cultivar is a vital herb that is extremely important for the heavenly circuit realm 5th layer cultivator that is about to break through the thought division realm. When the cultivator of divine sea realm 5th layer like Wei Suo breaks through heavenly circuit realm, true UN in the naked body opens up the 6th divine sea. When true UN communicates to form a heavenly circuit, it is easy to bring chi. And blood also flows too fast, making the cultivator's naked body rise rapidly, but it destroys the cultivator's naked body function, and the cultivation deviation causes the body to self-immolate. For this cultivator, there is an ice fog fruit that curbs the rapid flow of cultivator chi and blood, which is an excellent auxiliary herbal herb. For the heavenly circuit realm 5th layer to break through the thought division realm's cultivator, the most great treasure barrier to face is divine sense differentiation, thought division realm, which is the cultivator capable of differentiating divine sense, attached to shapeshift great art great treasure above. When you break through this barrier, you have to face the weakness of divine sense, and the spirit is excessively exhausted. Lightly there is a manifest illusion, heart demon invades, but cannot control true UN, directly cultivation deviation and die. And the God Grass is just right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 86. Senior Wei. When Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking walked to Ling Yunfang, many monks were already in the field. When walking to this building that is similar to Ling Xiaofang, Wei Suo remembered that this time the shopkeeper Tian did not give himself any entry jade charm. Just thinking about whether the shopkeeper Tian was negligent, then the young man named Jin Yuge named Lin Feng had already come out of the door of Ling Yunfang and walked towards him and Nangong Yuking. It turned out that as the VIP of the Golden Jade Pavilion, Wei Suo was waiting for Lin Feng, and brought him and Nangong Yuking directly into a VIP box on the second floor. This VIP box is bigger than the last one in Ling Xiaofang, and the decoration is more gorgeous. And the difference is that the window is also equipped with a unique aura light array. From the VIP box you can clearly see the outside and the hall, but from the outside you cannot see the inside of the VIP box. Senior Wei, this is the list of treasures in this auction. You can take a look and see if you are interested in anything other than the one you want. After leading Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking into the VIP box on the second floor, Lin Feng did not leave immediately, but took out a volume of silk books and handed it to Wei Suo very politely. Oh! With a move in his heart, Wei Suo immediately took over the silk book and started to read it together with Nangong Yuking. Lin Feng, however, was very professional and withdrew from this VIP box after a ceremony. Hexudan. Almost just for the first time, Wei Zhuo saw this kind of magical elixir that allowed the monks below the ideology to directly improve the first order cultivation. This auction was jointly organized by several large square cities such as Jinyu Pavilion and Zhenbao Pavilion. Among them, there was Hexudan refined by Jinyu Pavilion's beautiful beauty Jiyat. On this list, Wei Zhuo saw that the panacea was ranked 5th for sale. In fact, among the many monks who were already present, there was no lack of holding the treasure pavilion to co-organize this auction. Jia is very likely to be there, wanting to see the face of the legendary first beauty of Lingyu City to come to this auction. Because even if you go to the treasure pavilion, it is impossible to meet with Jia who is living in a simple place. Heart Eater, Wei Suo immediately saw his own 2 insect eaters at once. The shopkeeper Tian seemed to purposely separate the 2 insect eaters, one in the 9th and the other in the 10th. Soul control. Then Wei Suo immediately saw the spell he wanted to control the monster on the list, and the marked reserve price was 1,500 inferior spirit stones, ranking 6th. Dragon and Tiger's Wei robe, black and white gossip fish and daoki fish. These three Weizhuo things are also strikingly arranged, ranking 13th, 15th and 16th respectively. The rest of the lot was swept by Weisuo at a glance, and Weisuo was a little shocked by a potion called Shenyang Cao and a ground-level low-level Zhenyuan Ju called Tianyang Mi Shu, with a base price respectively. It is 3,000 inferior spirit stones and 7,000 inferior spirit stones. Yangshen grass is a very important elixir for Zhou Tianjing's 5 monks who are about to break through to divide the mind. When a 5-level monk like Weisuo broke through to Zhou Tian realm, the true element in the body opened up a 6th divine sea. When the true element communicated to form a Zhou Tian, it was easy to bring the whole body of blood and circulation fast, making the monk's body temperature rise rapidly, at the slightest damage to the monk's physical function, and at the same time, get rid of the magic, causing the body to burn himself. For this monk, the ice mist fruit that has the effect of restraining the monk's blood flow too fast is an excellent auxiliary elixir. For the monks who Zhou Tianjing broke through to the 5-level conception, the biggest barrier to be faced was the division of spiritual thoughts, which is the ability of the monk to differentiate the spiritual thoughts and rely on the magic weapon. When crossing the gate, what we have to face is the weakness of the mind and excessive fatigue. From light to heavy illusion, the heart demons invade, but from the uncontrollable true Yuan, directly go into the devil and die. But the nourishing grass is exactly the elixir that can greatly refresh the mind and calm the soul. Take a plant before the customs clearance, and the success rate of Enron breakthrough will increase greatly. Weizhuo now has the ice fog fruit, but there is still no nourishing grass that must be prepared, and this elixir, Weizhuo K, is also very much wanted. The true elemental exercises of the territories are even rarer and harder to obtain than this cultivating grass. It should be known that for the entire Tianxian continent, the exercises above the Xian level are extremely difficult to buy. Because some of the best practices among the weak ancestors are nothing more than low-level prefecture-level exercises. Even for some powerful sects with celestial order exercises, they will not let Suanja exercises above the advanced level. Because the exercises above the Suanja level are all collected, on the merit rewards, to those elite disciples who have made corresponding contributions to the sect or have extremely high talents. If you want to get good exercises, you must work hard for the sect, and create a certain value. This is the means used by all Zongmen to stimulate disciples, and to keep Zongmen's cohesion and earn spirit stones, which is why Weisuo did not want to join any Zongmen before. Because maybe when Zongmen was going to deal with a powerful monster, he made cannon fodder, and only those few surviving disciples would really benefit. Therefore, for the practices and techniques above the Xian level and above, any sect is extremely strict. If a disciple spreads it privately, he will definitely be subject to the harshest punishment. This has resulted in the high-level and higher-level exercises that can be seen on the market, almost all of which are spread out in loose repairs, or just found in ruins or monster caves. Moreover, if this type of practice is above the public level, there will be many acquisitions. As the foundation of the school, the price has always been high. The reason why Weisuo did not replace Zi Xian Zhenju is because it is necessary to abandon cultivation practice and start practicing again, and it is very deceptive to advance Zi Xian Zhenju into advanced exercises. Enemy time may be more advantageous, and another more important reason is that it is very difficult for him to buy Xian level or higher level exercises. Now for Weisuo's appetite, the exercises on the ground level are not in the eye at all, the best is the exercises on the heaven level. However, it is impossible to buy Tian level exercises on the market, and he can't afford them at all, because there are only more than 10 ancestral ancestors in the Tianxian continent. Like Tianyimen, it is estimated that there are only prefecture level high level exercises. The prefecture level low level exercises like this appear in the Lingyu city's auction, which is already very amazing, because no one except Weisuo can refine the Tian pill now. There are many low-level exercises, but they have already practiced above Zhou Tianjing. Many monks with spirit stones in their hands will also desperately want to compete for this kind of low-level exercises. The low price of this prefecture-level low-level exercise is 7,000 inferior spirit stones, which is already very amazing, but Wei Suo can almost be sure that the price at the time of the real transaction will be even more amazing. Baiyun Beiyi. Fire Sword. Zi Lanjing. Wu Xianjing Jin. Epidon. Almost as soon as Wei Suo finished reading all the baby introductions on the list piece by piece, this auction just happened. What disappointed many monks who came for Jiya was that this auction was still the Tian shopkeeper of Jinya Pavilion, and Jiya of Treasure Pavilion did not appear, which also made the rumored Lingyu city the first beauty added a bit of mystery. Intermittent jade pill, with a base price of 500 inferior spirit stones. There were more than 500 monks in the entire hall, and the number of VIP boxes on the second floor of Lingyunfang was obviously more than a dozen more than Lingxiofang, and most of the VIP boxes seemed to be someone looks like. The first item announced by the shopkeeper Tian that allowed the monks' broken bones to quickly engage in the healing potion immediately caused robbery. The final transaction price turned out to be 900 inferior spirit stones. Because Wei Suo has looked at the list and knows that there is a better healing effect behind it, not only can the broken bones be quickly recovered, even the injuries to the body and the damage to the internal organs can be quickly repaired, so Ipandan Wei Suo, who has no half interest in the medicine, naturally just looked at the show quietly. Many people in the VIP box on the second floor also seem to have the same treatment as Wei Suo. This medicine during the auction, the entire VIP room on the second floor remained silent. It wasn't until the third auction baby Yu Chundun that a solid male voice was heard in the box on the left side of Wei Suo, with 1,500 inferior spirits. The price of stone, bought this immortality. Wei Suo knew that even if both parents were good monks, there might be congenital physiques that were too weak to give birth to monks and became children of monks. And this Yuchen pill is just a panacea that can slightly enhance some innate constitution. The person in the box bought this immortality medicine, it should be that there is something around him that is too weak to practice. Probably because of the participation of the Jinbei Pavilion, which is characterized by immortality, the number of rare immortals in this auction is also significantly more than that of the last auction. Hexudan. When this monk who can let the monks below the imagination level can directly upgrade the first level cultivation medicine, and finally shouted to 4,200 inferior spirit stones, there are still equivalent to 30,000 inferior spirit stones. Wei Suo had an urge to buy this immortality for a moment, but Nangong Yuking seemed to see his thoughtful eyes slightly glared, so that Wei Suo calmed down immediately and did not participate in this one. The battle for immortality. Driven by the fierce atmosphere of this auction, some monks would indeed be unable to hold it. Under the impulse, they spent a lot of spirit stones to buy their own things. Soul control. After this Hexudan was bought by a distributing monk wearing black leather armor, and rank 6th, Wei Suo's biggest purpose in this trip was to control the monster's tricks without fail, and finally began auctioning. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 87. Chapter 87 Once and for all. Second, ask for the red ticket. Are you sick? As soon as I entered Han Weiwei's box and saw a smug Han Weiwei, Wei Suo, who was a little bit smoldering, couldn't help but scream. Two rock-tailed wall lizard have only a few spiritual stones, you want to fix me? It takes 15,000 pieces of spiritual stones to be sold. Are you going to be on the road when your rare treasure pavilion's spiritual stones are on the road? Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo and wasn't angry. He smiled like a little fox. What am I going to do? It's better than some people spending 700 spiritual stones. What 700 spiritual stones? Nangong Yuking, who is behind Wei Suo, looked at Wei Suo with some puzzles. What the hell are you going to do? Wei Suo was so angry that he wanted to kill the silver shirt girl first, then raped and killed the heart, and shouted in front of him. I said that it will make you obediently ask me, How, it seems that this control is very important to you? I have just seen it, it is very simple, very general. The more Wei Wio is, the more proud Han Wei is. I don't want to be like it. I just want to play a fair fight with you and teach you lessons. Wei Suo stared at Han Wei in desperation. So if I win you again, you give me this trick shift great art and promise to stop entangled me in the future? If you are upright, can you win me? Han Wei sneered a little sneer. Well, as long as you can win me, I will give you this shapeshift great art, and I will not bother you anymore. But if you lose, how can you say it once? Wei Suo couldn't help but shout. What are you worried about? I haven't thought about it yet. Han Wei thought about it with a grin. Well, I think about it. If you lose, just give me a month of slavery. When I let you do the hard work, you will do the coolies. You not only can't be sick and shouting, but also keep shouting, okay, master. The Lord is your head. Wei Suo looked at Han Wei, who was very proud. If I win, this is the control. If you win, not only do I have no control, I have to give you a month of slavery. What do you have to do for me? I have to ask you to call you master. You shouldn't really look at me, it's so cold and lonely at night. I want to let me do something with you. Shameless, Han Wei has a pretty face. I want you to be a slave, just let you work in the daytime, and wherever you should go back to where to go back. What happened to the spirit control? But the value of 15,000 pieces of spiritual stones, but I am too lazy to care about this old rogue. If you can win me, I will give you this control, but also do it for you. A month of slavery is good. Wei Suo sneered. Okay, this is what you said, but don't regret it? Han Wei looked at Wei Suo with disdain. I regret? Han Wei speaks the most. Do you dare to swear? Wei Suo, this time Nangang Yuking pulled Wei Suo behind and seemed to want to say something to Wei Suo, but Han Wei immediately said, Nangang Yuking, I will try to stay away from this shameless guy a little better, save what I will be cheated by this kid in the future. Hearing Han Wei, Nangang Yuking shook his head and said nothing. What swear? Wei Suo asked. If you don't talk, then your dual cultivation Dao companion is fatter than a pig. It is also full of great treasure Pak, 3 feet tall and 3 feet in waist. And you can't fix Golden Core Realm for a lifetime. Han Wei smiled. But watching you like this, there is no hope in this life to repair the Golden Core Realm. Wei Suo almost be angry dizzy, cried, well, if I do not count words, marry a pig then the fat, full face great treasure, height 3 feet, waist is also 3 feet of women, still cannot repair Golden Core Realm. If you speak not count words, also marry a pig then the fat, full face great treasure, height 3 feet, waist is also 3 feet male, and that person is still North Cold City. Why is it still in the North Cold City? Han Wei, this is a bit unintelligible. And Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 88. Are you sick? As soon as he entered Han Wei's box, he saw Han Wei sitting proudly, and Wei Suo, who was a little smoky, couldn't help but yell. To fix me, it will cost 15,000 inferior spirit stones. Did you also pick up the spirit stones in your treasure haul? Han Wei was not angry when he looked at Wei Suo. He smiled smugly like a little fox. What's the matter with me? It's better than some people who spend 700 spirits to do dirty things. What 700 spirit stones? Nangang Yuking, who was behind Wei Suo, looked at Wei Suo somewhat puzzled. What on earth are you doing? Wei Suo was so angry that he wanted to the silver shirt beauty first, then kill, and kill again, and cried out in front of him. I said it would make you obediently ask me. Why, it seems that the spirit control is very important to you. I have just seen it. It is very simple and very general. Wei Suo got angry. Han Wei the more proud, I don't want to do anything, I just want to fight you a fair game, and teach you lessons. Wei Suo stared at Han Weiwei desperately. What if I beat you again? You gave me this technique and promised not to bother me again in the future. If you are upright, can you still beat me? Han Weiwei sneered contemptuously. Yes, as long as you can beat me, I will give you this technique, and I won't trouble you anymore in the future, but if you lose. How about the lost words? There are words that are all finished at once. I'm in a hurry, I haven't thought about it yet, Han Weiwei muttered and thought about it. Okay, I think about it. If you lose, just give me a month of slavery. I'll let you do it. You can do as much coolly as you can. You can not only pretend to be sick and tired, but also keep shouting, okay, master. Lord, you are. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei, who was very proud. If I win, this gated spiritism. If you win, if I don't control spiritism, I have to do it for you, a month of slavery. If you let me do what I have to do, I have to call you to be the master? You should have really taken a fancy to me, good night and lonely, want me to do something with you. Shameless, Han Weiwei has a pretty face, I let you be a slave, just let you work in the daytime, and so on, where should you roll back at night? Where is the spirit control? But the value is 155,000 inferior spirit stones, but I am too lazy to worry about you, an old rogue. If you can win me, I will give you this gated spirit and make you a slave for a month. Wei Suo sneered, well, this is what you said, but don't regret it at the time. Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo disdainfully, I regret it? I have Han Weiwei talking the most. Do you dare to swear? Wei Suo. At this time, Nangang Yuking pulled Wei Suo in the back, as if he wanted to say something to Wei Suo, but Han Weiwei said immediately, Nangang Yuking, I think you should try to stay away from this shameless guy in the future. Well, save what will be fooled by this kid in the future. Hearing Han Weiwei say this, Nangang Yuking shook her head slightly and said nothing more. What swear? Wei Suo asked fiercely. If you don't talk, you will be fatter than pigs, and have a full face of marijuana, 3 feet in height, and 3 feet in waist circumference. And you can't cultivate Jindan realm in a lifetime. Han Weiwei smiled. But looking at you like this, there is no expectation to reach Jindan realm in this life. I rely on, Wei Suo was almost stunned and shouted, well, if I don't speak, I will marry a woman who is fatter than a pig, full of marijuana, 3 feet tall, and has a 3-foot waist. If you don't speak Jindan realm, if you don't speak, you'll marry a man fatter than a pig, full face marijuana, 3 feet tall, and 3 feet in waist circumference, and that person is still in the North Cold City. Why is it still in North Cold City? Han Weiwei couldn't understand it. Wei Suo snorted and explained, I haven't seen it again. There is no water in the 3,000 miles of the North Cold City. The monks there are used to not taking a bath all year round. They can rub their hands with just one rub. It's too vicious. Han Weiwei was stunned and looked at Wei Suo in disbelief. After a while, he recovered and gritted his teeth, okay. I'll swear this, if I get to the time, if I lose and don't speak, I will marry a man fatter than a pig, full of marijuana, 3 feet tall, and a waist 3 feet tall, and the man is still in North Cold City. Okay, when will we fight? Right now, we have a room for testing magical powers and magical powers nearby, which is large enough. Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo with a grunt, I don't want you to prepare something dirty again, it's best if you don't even use any magic tools, so that it's the fairest way to fight. According to you, then we better not even eat Keaton, wouldn't it be the fairest? Wei Suo said with a smile. This is what you said, how dare you do this? Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo with some disbelief, because Wei Suo's guy gave her the impression that the cultivation practice was not good, but there were a lot of things that crooked. Wei Suo gave her a white glance, if you want to beat yourself, what can I do? Okay, then everyone is not allowed to use any magic weapon, even defensive magic weapon and immortality medicine. If anyone uses magic weapon and immortality medicine, it will be lost. Han Weiwei was immediately excited. Let's go to the room in our jumbo pavilion now. Wait a moment, Wei Suo suddenly waved his hand. Why, do you want to regret it? Han Weiwei's eyes suddenly glared. I'm in a hurry. I'll finish the auction of these two things first. Then the two things are mine. Wei Suo walked towards the window. Heart Eater? This is his Heart Eater. Han Weiwei looked out of the window with some curiosity, but he was stunned. After all, what is the value of the heartworm? She is also very clear. It turned out that at this time, the auction of Wei Suo's first Heart Eater had already begun. 2,500 inferior spirit stones. 3,000 inferior spirit stones. Perhaps it was influenced by the crazy outcry of Wei Suo, Li Honglin, and Han Weiwei, and the price increase was very large as soon as the first Heart Eater came out. Two outcry bids have exceeded 3,000 inferior spirit stones. Obviously, as expected by the shopkeeper Tian, the appearance of this heartworm immediately caused an exclamation in the entire auction venue. After all, the skin of this heartworm can be used to refine the cloak of the hidden class. A bone tip can be used to refine stealth offensive instruments, so that the opponent is undefeated. However, the two outcry prices were the price of 3,000 inferior spirit stones, which also caused most of the on-the-spot monks to swallow saliva and extinguished their greedy eyes. Although things are good, the key is to look at your own bag of spirit stones. 3,500 inferior spirit stones. 4,000 inferior spirit stones. Only after the sound of the third outcry sounded, only the characters in the two VIP boxes above remained on the two sides of the competition. And these two monks who obviously wanted to get heartworms obviously also have a certain identity. After seeing the list of auctions, only after one price was paid to each other, one of the VIP rooms was deliberately withdrawn. No further price increases. When the next bite of the heart bite caused another exclamation in the audience, the last monk who had not raised the price of the heart bite got the second heart bite with 3,800 inferior spirit stones. Although the people in these two VIP boxes were very tacit and there was no scramble, the two eclipse bugs sold a total of 7,800 pieces, which has already made Weizhuo very satisfied. In addition to the 4,000 inferior spirits that have been obtained before, the extra 3,800 shots were originally deducted from the 380, but the shopkeeper Tian has already said that 30% of them can be exempted. As soon as these two heart-biting insects were alone, Wei Suo had already received at least 3,500 more. With the addition of two other vestments and the half-spirit bluefish, it is conservatively estimated that there are at least about 2,000 inferior spirit stones in the account. After watching the auction of the two heartworms, Wei Suo did not have anything to buy anyway, so he simply followed Han Weiwei out of the auction venue and walked towards the place where Han Weiwei said to test the power of the magic weapon. Are you really sure? Nangang Yuking secretly asked Wei Suo as she walked in the direction of the treasure hall behind Han Weiwei. For Nangang Yuking, this kind of comparison between the two sides without any magic weapon makes her feel more at ease, because after all, the magic weapon is relatively powerful, and the combat is very dangerous. No one can guarantee that both sides will not have any damage. Both sides are monks of the 5 levels of Shanghai realm. If you use a spell, if one side is not enemies, she can at least intercept it. It was just before Nangang Yuking that it was clear that Wei Suo's exercises and techniques were very common, so she was a little worried that Wei Suo really wanted to make Han Weiwei a slave for a month. 67% Wei Suo smiled. 67%, looking at Wei Suo's chest-like appearance, Nangang Yuking was also curious. What is certain, 60% to 70%? Does this kid actually have anything to do with Jumbo Pavilion? What Wei Suo and Nangang Yuking did not find out was that just after they came out of Ling Yunfang together with Han Weiwei, a monk wearing a hat was secretly following them. This monk, who had changed his ordinary blue cloth and covered his face with a hat, was the Zhou Tianjing monk Lu Zhongzhou who was threatened in the cave that day. Treasure Pavilion's magic weapon and spell test place. Lu Zhongzhou, who secretly followed the three people all the way, saw Wei Suo, Nangang Yuking and Han Weiwei walking into a square blue palace, and suddenly pretended to be uncomfortable. Go in. Lu Zhongzhou did this because he wanted to eavesdrop on the relationship between Wei Suo and Han Weiwei. In fact, Lu Zhongzhou has been guarding Wei Suo in the Lingyu city these days. Heisha made him thoroughly investigate Wei Suo's details, and he was easy to understand. How could a small casual repairer without any backstage deal with so many Zhuxinjing monks? Don't kill it all at once, but he has an extremely powerful backstage, so Heisha can't eat it and walk away. Heisha only gave him a month, but Wei Suo has been practicing in his heavenly residence these days. Seeing that half of the deadline has passed, Lu Zhongzhou is almost dead. For this reason, he also bought a magic instrument called parrot snail, which is used to eavesdrop on other people's conversations, but this time it was difficult to hear Wei Suo's voice in the auction venue, but there was a special in the auction venue. He also couldn't hear Wei Suo's conversation with others. So he only stayed outside the auction, waiting for Wei Suo and Nangang Yuking to come out. But what he didn't expect was that even the young lady Han Weiwei from the treasure pavilion came out with him, and looking at him, he seemed to be very familiar with Han Weiwei. Does he really have a big background? This house dedicated to the testing of magical powers and magical powers is no special prohibition. We can eavesdrop on Wei Suo's conversation with his parrot snail. So it's convenient to pretend to have a stomachache. As soon as Lu Zhongzhou ran into the remote back alley of this blue palace, he immediately couldn't wait to pick up the parrot snail again. Start stealing sounds. But what made him stunned for a while was that at the other end of the back alley, a middle-aged monk in red also swept in, and in his hand was also holding a parrot snail exactly like him. Lu Zhongzhou and this middle-aged monk in red suddenly froze together. If Wei Suo could see this monk in red here, he would be shocked because of the red. The monk turned out to be the one who had robbed him of the furnace room, most likely the sword repair. At the moment, it is obvious that Lu Zhongzhou also eavesdropped on his conversation with Nangang Yuking and Han Weiwei. Just when Lu Zhongzhou and the monk in red were stunned, the voice of Han Weiwei was clearly heard in the parrot snail of the two people. Old rogue, I took my take off your clothes. Take off your clothes too. Now Nangang Yuking is also inside. Has Miss Treasure Pavilion's relationship with Wei Suo actually reached this point? Lu Zhongzhou's mind suddenly showed a picture of a man and two women, and after staying for a while, he and the monk in red changed their faces, and at the same time, they put away the parrot sound snail, and they quickly retreated towards the sides. Go out. Almost as soon as the two disappeared, a monk who was just passing by walked out of the alley, and inside the blue palace, Han Weiwei looked at Wei Suo with a look of contempt and said, I don't want to come by. You smashed your clothes outside and saw a disgusting person inside. Come on. Wei Suo's old face blushed slightly. Aren't you afraid that I still have some magic weapon hidden in my body at that time? Change it. Everyone will put on your ordinary clothes in the treasure pavilion, and then hit it. If not, if you are at ease, you can also watch me take off my clothes and change my clothes. Bah! I'm afraid I can't eat. A year after seeing disgust, Han Weiwei said this, but said to a disciple in the treasure hall standing at the door of the empty hall, you go and give him a suit, then watch him change. From this we can see that Han Weiwei, the little girl, is sometimes very careful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. 7 Spiritual Stone Sequelae. First, red tickets. Do you have anything? Nothing, just a little dizzy. Han Weiwei woke up and saw Wei Suo's concern about asking himself, and subconsciously answered such a sentence. But after answering the sentence, Han Weiwei suddenly reacted to what it was like, and a surging sound jumped from the arms of Nangang Yuking. After touching it on his face, Han Weiwei screamed and screamed, "What's going on? Obviously I was only punched by the native, how could both eyes swollen like this? The native man stunned you with a punch." Wei Suo shook his head with lust. "I didn't have shapeshift great art, and the great treasure family didn't have time. After the natives stunned you, they punched you again." Ah! A surging sound can scare the screams of hundreds of sparrows in the empty great treasure hall, and Han Weiwei, who looks at 1,000 silversmiths, sees himself into two great treasure panda eyes, and estimates that he is seen by senior sister. "I can't recognize myself. Wei Suo, I want to kill you. You dare to call me like this?" "What?" Wei Suo looks at the crazy Han Weiwei. "Do you want to talk without saying anything? Want to marry a fatter than a pig, 3 feet tall, and the waist is also 3 feet? City man." Han Weiwei stayed and screamed again, "You must be sneaky. How can your purple mystic true technique make you get so many Dao technique shapeshift great art? Who said that purple chi must be purple mystic true technique?" Wei Suo haha smiled. "You think I am repairing the purple mystic true technique? I didn't say that I was repairing the purple mystic true technique. I did not believe that you must have secretly sneaked something to reply to True Yuan's medicine pill." Han Weiwei continued to shout. Really, Wei Suo did not explain that he had smashed a surging sound and thoroughly ran True Yuan in his naked body. He saw the faint purple divine sea brilliance on his body, and made a small river like a dragonfly. Surging sound. Han Weiwei's face was white. Now even the blind man can see that the force of Wei Suo's True Yuan and the divine sea is at least the mystic level high level. The shapeshift great art can only be repaired. It is absolutely impossible to be a purple mystic true technique. Although Han Weiwei's eyes have been made into panda eyes, at least things can be seen clearly. After Han Weiwei called a surging sound, she wanted to die, but Wei Suo's made her stop. "Hey, I am willing to gamble and lose. Even if you want to repent and don't give me a month of slavery, do you have to give me the intercourse of intercourse? 1 month slave." The great treasure. The two rare treasure pavilion guards who did not have a great treasure to understand the relationship between Han Weiwei and Wei Suo heard the words of Wei Suo's, and the whole person was petrified. Chinese website. "My Han Weiwei is not a talk when you talk." Han Weiwei turned over and slammed his teeth and gave a piece of jade slip to Wei Suo. "This is the spirit, 1 month a month." Hey, Wei Suo couldn't help but laugh at this time. "Han Weiwei, some crazy way, what do you laugh at? What a funny "Nothing." Wei Suo waved his hand. "I can't help but laugh when I see your two eyes." Han Weiwei almost angered and fainted to the ground again. Haha. After collecting the jade slip that records the spirit control, Wei Suo's inner triumphant lust is nothing to describe in terms of shapeshift great art. Although it is quite unbearable to make such a beautiful woman into two panda eyes. However, after being entangled in this outstanding but beautiful woman for so long, he finally got a bad breath. The most important thing is that he had to buy the spirituality to have at least 9,000 spiritual stones, but now even the spiritual stones are saved, and it is a great treasure. Your rare treasure pavilion should have a bloody and edifying medicine pill. Excuse me, I can't control the bandit shot, and I'm a little heavy. You still have to go back to the rare treasure pavilion to get some medicine. I will start to be a slave again tomorrow. After talking about this sentence, Wei Suo exchanged his clothes and walked out of the secret place of the rare treasure pavilion with Nangong looking. Do you really want her to be a slave for a month? After leaving the door, Nangong looking couldn't help but look at Wei Suo. Wei Suo said with great pride, "I am not letting her be a slave, she is a slave to herself." Wei Suo, Nangong looking gave Wei Suo a look. Wei Suo suddenly sweated and grabbed his head and said, "You saw it from beginning to end. She wanted to fix me. I didn't beat me. Rest assured, even if I let her be a slave, it wouldn't be too much. Just give her a little bit of trouble and let her know that it is not easy to earn spiritual stones. Look at her now, the 1,500 spiritual stones is just to make me look like me. If this is the case, the rare treasure pavilion will be defeated in her hands. Nangong Yuking, listening to Wei Suo, said that his face looked good, but his mouth still had a surging sound. Spiritual stones is also a matter of rare treasure pavilion. Why, do you want to be the RI of the rare treasure pavilion? Yeah, worried. How can this be? Wei Suo quickly shook his head. The sky is on, I haven't even seen Jiya's face. I care for her. It's not that you have been educating me. It's a shame to waste spiritual stones. I think she is so messy. Flower spiritual stones is wrong. Besides, like her, maybe I was annoyed with great treasure when I saw it for a day, and sent her back to the rare treasure pavilion the next day. Jiya is the first beauty of Spirit Peak City, you are not tempted. Nangong Yuking gave a look at Wei Suo. That's not necessarily, everyone's eyes are different, then again, what is the use of temptation, heavenly profound continent, so many beautiful women, no matter who wants to have nothing to do with themselves. Wei Suo he smiled and looked at Nangong Yuking. My heaven grade residence is only half a month away. If you don't want to soak in the pool, you have to spend a few hundred spiritual stones to rent a new 1 month. Last time you didn't say that you have time to soak up. It's rare that today's great treasure family is so happy, or is it today? Anyway, I have just been frozen and chilled to enter the bone, just to make a bubble to drive the cold. Nangong Yuking's mouth is raised with a good angle. She has a head, she wants to agree. Seeing that Nangong Yuking didn't refuse, he would soon nod his consent. Wei Suo's heart lust could be said to be quite exciting, but at this moment, Han Wei of the two panda eyes suddenly ran out and called, Wei Suo. What? Seeing that Nangong Yuking would agree, Wei Suo, who was interrupted, turned around and asked without hesitation. Nothing, I just want to ask, when should I come to you tomorrow, and the next time you want to do the 700 pieces of spiritual stones, should I avoid it? Han Wei looked at Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking and said with a bad heart. Wei Suo's face was a bit white, and Nangong Yuking asked strangely, what is the 700 pieces of spiritual stones? How, Nangong Yuking, you don't know? Han Wei reveals a very exaggerated table lust. He often spends 700 pieces of spiritual stones and shouts some female cultivators to him to do shameless things, and it happened to be hit by me last time. The dress was extremely exposed, and even the female cultivator with all the great treasure legs was left to think that I was doing the same thing as her. I also said that I was not good at the first time, so I would not rush with her. What? Don't talk about it. Wei Suo couldn't help but screamed. What, the great treasure legs are all exposed, people are well dressed. Yes, I remember it wrong. People's clothes are well dressed. Han Wei nodded very deeply. Wei Suo suddenly reacted and said that he had missed his mouth. He turned to look at Nangong Yuking and saw that Nangong Yuking looked at him incredibly. Nangong Yuking, you listen to me, Wei Suo said coldly on his hands and feet. What to explain? Nangong Yuking looked at Wei Suo. What do you do is your own business. Even if you spend 7,000 spiritual stones, you don't need to explain anything to me. Wei Suo's mouth was open, but for a moment he couldn't say anything. I want to close the culture for a while. If there is nothing particularly important, don't use the jade talisman to find me. Nangong Yuking turned and said the sentence, he left alone. The only way, Han Wei was very disappointed to see the back of Nangong Yuking's departure. She felt that Nangong Yuking should give this guy a great treasure slap in the face, then say, the last one of you, I read the wrong words, but I didn't think that Nangong Yuking was so calm, it was just too shameless person. After some disappointment, Han Wei turned around and prepared to sneak back to the rare treasure pavilion to make his two panda eyes clear. The natives did not know how to pity the jade, and now the two eyes are still burning and dying, and even the eyes are afraid to lick Han Wei, but at this moment, Wei Suo was a low roaring surging sound and shouted at her. What? Han Wei disdained Wei Suo a surging sound, A demonstration like martyr. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei slyly. I changed my mind, start today and you will be my slave. Right now. Han Weiwei was surprised. Old hooligans, what do you say? Why, do you have to repent? Wei Suo sneered. If you don't want to go back, then your current name has to be changed. I knew you would regret it. Anyway, like you, the fat man in the North Cold City, and you are quite worthy, a fat bear, a black-eyed panda. Wei Suo looked at the local Han Weiwei and sneered at a surging sound and turned to leave. Isn't it a month? What else? Start now from now on. Han Weiwei slammed his teeth and shouted a surging sound. Who said that I have to go back? Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 90. Are you okay? It's okay, but my head is a little dizzy. Han Weiwei woke up leisurely, seeing Wei Suo asked himself with concern, and responded subconsciously. But after answering the sentence, Han Weiwei suddenly reacted like something, and he jumped from Nangong Yuking's arms. After touching it on his face, Han Weiwei shrieked in anger, "What's going on? Obviously I was only punched by the native, why both eyes swelled like this?" The aborigine knocked you out with a punch. Wei Suo shook his head sympathetically. No way, everyone didn't have time. After the aborigine knocked you out, he hit you again. What? A sharp cry that could scare a few hundred sparrows sounded in the empty hall. To Han Weiwei, who saw 1,000 pieces of silver, he saw that he had become two panda eyes. Out of myself. Why saw, I'm going to kill you. You dare to beat me like this? Why? Wei Suo looked blankly at the frantic Han Weiwei. Don't you want to talk? You want to marry a fatter than a pig, 3 feet tall and 3 feet in waist, don't take a bath in a year? Is it the North Cold City man? Han Weiwei was dumbfounded and yelled again, you must be cheating. How can your purple profound truth make you find so many spells? Who said that Zi Zhihan must be Zi Xuanzhen's recipe? Wei Suo haha smiled, you think I repaired Zi Xuanzhen's recipe, but I did not say that I cultivated Zi Xuanzhen's recipe. I don't believe it. You must have secretly ate some panacea that can be used to restore Zhenyuan. Han Weiwei continued to cry. Isn't it? Wei Suo didn't explain. He snorted and turned the real element in his body completely, and saw that there were 5 groups of fiery purple sea gods gleaming in his body. The sound of a small river flowing. Han Weiwei's face suddenly turned white. Now even blind people can see that Wei Suo's true elemental strength and Zhenhai are at least Qian level high-level spells to be able to cultivate. It is absolutely impossible for Zi Xian Zhenxie. Although Han Weiwei's eyes were beaten into panda eyes, at least he could still see clearly. Ah! Han Weiwei shouted and wanted to be killed, but Wei Suo's words made her pause. Hey! Wish to gamble and lose? Even if you want to repent and not give me a month of slavery, you have to give me the spirit control technique, okay? A month of slavery. In the hall, the 2 guards of the treasure pavilion, who didn't know the relationship between Han Weiwei and Wei Suo, heard Wei Suo's words, and the whole person was petrified again. When did my Han Weiwei speak? Han Weiwei turned around sharply, throwing a jade jaw to Wei Suo, biting the spirit. Poof! Wei Suo couldn't help laughing at this time. Han Weiwei said a little crazy, what are you laughing at? What's so funny? It's nothing. Wei Suo waved his hand. Seeing your 2 eyes can't help but want to laugh. Han Weiwei was almost black with anger and collapsed to the ground again. Haha. After collecting the jade recording the spirit control technique, Wei Suo's inner complacency couldn't be described in words, although he was really intolerable to make such a beautiful girl into 2 panda eyes. Yes, but after being so entangled with this beautiful girl with the hip buttocks for so long, he finally made a bad breath. The most important thing is that he had to buy the spirit control spell at least more than 9,000 inferior spirit stones, but now even save the spirit stone, it is a big profit. Your treasure pavilion should have a panacea for promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis. I'm sorry, I can't control the puppet's shots. I started to get a little bit heavy. You should go back to the treasure pavilion to apply some medicine. What will you do tomorrow? Be a slave. After Feng Sao said this, Wei Suo changed his clothes and walked out of the palace of the treasure pavilion with Nangong looking. Do you really want her to be a slave for a month? After going out, Nangong looking couldn't help looking at Wei Suo and asked. Wei Suo said with pride, it's not that I want her to be a slave, but she wants to be my slave. Wei Suo, Nangong looking glared at Wei Suo. Wei Suo suddenly sweated and scratched his head and said, you saw it from beginning to end. She wanted to correct me, but she didn't beat me. Rest assured, even if I let her be a slave. Too much, just to give her a little bitter bite to eat, let her know that it is not easy to earn spirit stones. Seeing her now, the 15,000 spirit stones in one shot is just to make me look like this. To really go on like this, the jumbo pavilion will be lost to her. Nangong looking listened to Wei Suo's words and looked pretty, but he still hummed on his mouth. People's chaotic flowers and spirits are also a matter of other people's treasure halls. Why, do you have to worry about Jia in the treasure halls? How can this be? Wei Suo quickly shook his head. The sky is above, but I haven't even seen Jia's face. I don't care about her. This is not what you have been educating me all the time. It is a waste of spirit stones. It's shameful that I think it's wrong for her to spend so much time on it. Anyway, like her, maybe I was so upset after watching it for a day, and sent her back to the treasure pavilion the next day. Other people, Jia is the first beautiful girl in Lingyu City, don't you care? Nangong looking gave Wei Suo a white look. That's not necessarily. Everyone's vision is different. Besides, what's the use of temptation? There are so many beautiful girls in Tianqiandalulu, it's okay to think about nothing to do with yourself. Wei Suo smiled and looked Nangong looking said, my heavenly residence is only half a month away. If you don't think about the Lingquan pond in the future, you will have to spend a few hundred spirit stones for another month if you think about it. Last time you didn't say if you have time to go. It is rare that everyone is so happy today, or is it today? Anyway, I was just frozen into the bones just now, and I just want to expel the cold. Nangong looking's mouth raised a nice angle. She is going to nod, she is going to agree. Seeing Nangong looking did not refuse, he nodded and agreed immediately. Wei Suo's mood can be said to be quite excited, but at this moment, Han Wei of the two panda eyes suddenly ran out, shouting, Wei Suo. What are you doing? Seeing Nangong looking agreeing, Wei Suo, who was interrupted, turned around and asked angrily. Nothing, I just want to ask, when should I come to you tomorrow, and the next time you want to do those 700 inferior spirit stones, should I avoid it? Han Wei looked at Wei Suo he and Nangong looking said badly. Wei Suo's face was suddenly a little white, but Nangong looking asked strangely, what is the matter of 700 inferior spirit stones? Why, don't you know? Nangong looking, Han Wei made a very exaggerated expression. He often spends 700 inferior spirit stones to call some women to do shameless things to him. It happened to me that I was hit once. The nun who was extremely exposed, even with her big legs exposed, thought I was doing the same thing as her. I don't want to grab business with her. What? Don't talk nonsense. Okay, Wei Suo couldn't help but yelled, what big legs are exposed? People are clearly dressed well. Yes, I remembered wrongly. The clothes are well dressed. Han Wei nodded deeply. Wei Suo suddenly reacted and said that he had leaked, turned his head to see Nangong looking, and as a result saw Nangong looking also looked at him in disbelief. Nangong looking, you listen to my explanation, Wei Suo said coldly. Explain what? Nangong looking looked at Wei Suo. What you do is your own business. Even if you spend 7,000 spirit stones, you don't need to explain anything to me. Wei Suo opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything for a while. I'm going to retreat and practice for a while. If there is nothing particularly important, don't use the communication Yafu to find me. Nangong Yuking turned around and said this, then left alone. That's the only way. Han Weiwei looked at Nangong Yuking's back very disappointed. She felt that Nangong Yuking should give this guy a big slap in the face, and then said the last sentence of "You, a rogue, I misunderstood you." It's like that, but she didn't expect Nangong Yuking to be so smooth. It was simply too cheap to be a shameless disciple. After a bit disappointed, Han Weiwei turned around and secretly returned to Zhenbaoj to fix his two panda eyes. The Aborigine really didn't know how to pity Xiang Zixiu, and now both eyes are still so hot and painful that they are dying, and they dare not blink. Han Weiwei, but at this moment, Wei Suo growled and yelled at her. Why? Han Weiwei dismissed Wei Suo with disdain, humming like a smirk. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei fiercely and said, I changed my mind. You will be my slave from today. Now, immediately. Han Weiwei said with some surprise, Old Liuqiu, what do you say? Why, do you have to repent? Confess? Wei Suo sneered. If you don't want to repent, confess, then you have to change your name now. I knew you would regret it anyway. Anyway, you are the same. The fat man in Bihankan is also a good match for you. A fat dog bear and a black-eyed panda. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei, who was staying in the local area, and sneered. Turn around and leave. Isn't it just a month? What else? From now on, now. Han Weiwei snapped her teeth, shouting her teeth in a bite, who said, I'm going to repent. Master. Go, come back to my place with me. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei very Yin Shen. B.